Hey, there we are. Hey, good day, good day, good day. Hey, Sherry.
Hello.
Okay, good.
Good
Talk
to
to
be
us.
back. I this is it's like I don't know, it's like a good thing the way things are just kind of flowing right
You
now.
think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can say that.
Well, and that's coming from watching you, you know,
Hmm.
maneuver and make things fall into place and stuff.
Okay.
And that's what that statement was about. It was watching you manifest coming on at the right time and getting everything in place and
Yeah, well, we're supposed to have an engineer back there,
looks like
but that's all
somebody's
right.
there.
I don't know since I
Yeah,
started this.
I know, but looks like somebody popped up since we started.
Well, that's
Since we
good.
started.
You want to tell
Yes.
everybody a little bit the second time around in 2023 who we are, what we are, and why are we actually doing this?
We are Craig or Imar, and I
Hmm.
am Sharon or Zare,
Hmm.
and we are taking the journey together.
Okay.
And taking the journey together is all about relationships, thriving relationships. Our motto, or what we always say, is people are going to relate. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
what anyone says, we're going to relate. But our idea or our principles that we send out to people are
Hmm.
set up to have people relate in a balanced way. And by balanced, we mean you don't have to decide whether to marry or have a relationship with your lover or your friend because you
Hmm.
start with a friendship and you build that friendship into a lovership with a committed relationship. And then you are married or committed or in a long term
Hmm.
partnership relationship with your lover and your friend all in
Okay.
one
Wow, you sound nervous as can be.
balance. Well, I'm not nervous. I'm just doing it in a different way.
Oh,
And
really?
because I was doing it in a different way,
That's why you sound nervous.
yeah, I was making sure I said everything and said everything right.
Okay.
So
Somebody's beeping
I
us
know
on a phone
that's
here. How dare they beep us while we're
I
on
agree.
over the air? Well,
Yes.
I am hoping while she's checking her phone
I
that
no,
you're
she's not checking
2000.
her phone. She's putting it
Well,
away.
even if you did,
Yeah.
that's all right. I was, yeah, really, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how an open forum we had last month. We missed
Last week.
last week that we had
Yeah.
with our counselor, or was it counselor? Our coach,
Yes.
Latita, and how well that we thought and felt she did. If those who
I
was
thought
with
that
us
went
last
well.
week and really enjoyed our
Hmm.
guest, we want to make her permanent at least once or twice a month. Please text us here now. Post on Facebook, or you can always text us at where Sharon.
At TTJT at takingthejourney-together.com.
I'm gonna let it go on the back. You see at the bottom, so
Yes.
you can always just text us and let us know if you enjoyed Latita. I think she said some very extremely well, honest and deep, transparent things that can help you out. At one time, she looks like she had to counsel us
Uh,
right
one
on the
time,
phone.
yes,
So I mean on a live phone.
on air.
That's how young I am. I'm thinking about one on the phone.
Not this time.
Not this time. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we are going to not have a open forum today. Today we are going to be talking about um, um, a topic. Yep, we're going to have a
and
topic this time.
and that topic
Is
is
drum roll until I get it done here. Boom. There it
dualism
is.
relationships.
Dualism
No.
relationships. Uh oh, something's not right. What is it? Oh, it's not spelled right. What is this?
Take
What's
the
wrong?
U out.
You out of where? At the end, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need no arms.
Some dualism.
There we go. There we go.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about. So as we're getting ready to go and start things off, get with your friends, get with your family members, get
Your
with your mate,
neighbors.
your neighbors, and your enemies. No, whatever. Those that are opposite from you, have them come and listen in to taking the journey together. We ourselves are certificate, if you want to use the word, um, life coaches and relationship
Relationship
coaches.
coaches. Yes.
Our past experience has helped us out in that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Second time around in marriage,
Yes.
you were married for how long?
Oh gosh, we were together for about 30 years, roughly.
And I have been was married for 16. So you put it together, and we're older than Methuselah and everybody else who's old in long time relationships. So there's
Yes.
a couple of things we learned
Yeah,
And
on both sides of the spectrum, the things
yeah,
that we want to continue doing as well as the things that we want
growing to
to
learn.
throw away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones that we are adding
Yes.
and creating
Yes.
that are new and different. Like in this
Absolutely.
case, they're taking the journey together. Um, idea of a
Hmm.
balanced and a thriving relationship. How
Hmm.
about that one?
That one
I
definitely.
shouldn't have forgot about that for a second.
No, no, I was just
That's the
saying on
best part. That
absolutely
should be the
that,
best
and
part.
that's what I was saying. Some things we
Hmm.
want to keep, some things we
No, I
want to
don't think this is a keep thing. I think there
throw
was
away. This is
something
a new
new.
thing.
It's new
Yes, it
for
is.
most relationships.
Yes.
The idea of thriving and
Hmm.
together
Yes.
is not friendship. Basically, this
Right.
basis
Right.
is not a new thing. Except for the young folks are doing it,
Mhm.
but most older folks is not.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about that direction of the older folks way, baby boomers, and a lot of us who grew up under another concept, which is the elements that we're going to be talking about. That's right. This thing that we're talking about, this idea, this structural way that people believed in the old school way of relating, is still strong today.
Hmm.
And today we're going to get to the roots of it. I mean, the very element of it,
The
um, the essence,
essence.
if you may want to say, because each one of us
Yes.
is an element or an essence that's involved with
Hmm.
relationship. So the old way, and I can't even say obsolete way of
No.
thinking when it comes to relationship, is the old thing called opposites attract.
Yes. There was even a
Opposite
song
attracts.
about it
Mm-hmm.
back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Paula Abdul had the song called Opposites Attract.
Mm-hmm.
Two steps forward, three steps back.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Can you sing it for us?
No.
Oh wow! I thought maybe you could just go ahead and battle it out. I'm hope Mrs. Engineer, if you're checking on the site, it looks like that there's supposed to be a bad wireless signal on your end, putting the show out over the internet, since it will go through your side. I'm assuming, I'm not for sure, since you do have the application, and it looks like it says it's a bad signal and connection is unstable. Maybe you may want to check into it or do whatever you got to do in the background to make sure we get out there nice and clear and don't have too many glitches. But anyway, yeah, opposite attracts.
Hmm. Yeah.
What others? What other songs you can think of that basically pushed very strongly the idea that opposite
Yeah.
attracts?
It was best to be opposites.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think, but that one just popped into my head because that was that was the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can even see the video that went with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not too
I,
sure.
I don't
I
know
can't.
how many shows I've saw
Oh yeah.
where they will have them being opposites,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and at the end of someplace in the middle, someone would say, well, no matter how hard or how uncomfortable it is,
Mm-hmm.
and how different that other person is,
Yeah.
and how not like you are,
We work it out.
you're working out because we know that opposites
Yeah.
attract,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Mm. Wow.
And there's a lot even today.
Hmm.
We have nothing in common. But we are. But we're gonna. But I still like him, or I still like her.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's an uphill climb for some people. That
Mm.
they see, because they've got to work that out. And one of the things that they see that on is
Hmm.
like religion
Hmm.
and things like that. Two different religions, and both of them are very
Hmm.
strong in their
Hmm.
religious beliefs, and they could be
Well,
opposite.
more than that, we're going to be talking about getting to the essence of it, that each individual as a being, as a human, as a
Hmm.
person, um, has that same kind of concept, precept, energy, if you may want to say, within them.
Yeah.
Outside of the two individuals that we usually base it on, because pluralism, poly in a plural marriage and all that stuff is kind of like um, the unicorn. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
The unicorn
Yeah.
in the crowd when it comes to relationships, though
Right.
it is taken off a lot in America, but it's been part of other countries for years.
Hmm.
But in the end, on top of going back to the element, the opposite attract, we can go to the essence and look at it under the definition of dualism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dualism, okay?
Hmm.
Dualism.
Yes.
Two different. Usually, you would describe that as being dual,
Hmm.
okay? So dualism is another way that you can say in a relationship, the opposites
Yes.
can attract. Now, dualism is a principle that is about mind and body, let's say representation.
Yes.
The metaphysical stance. Well, what's metaphysical? Come to think of this, getting so deep about here.
Yes. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh-huh.
Medical,
Major medical, major medical.
medical. I keep saying that
I know.
metaphysical
Uh-huh.
has to do with your body, but of course the physical part means body,
Mm-hmm.
and meta means things of the spirit or the mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah. Yep. Body and mind.
Hmm.
Metaphysical,
Hmm.
body and mind.
Yes.
Which most of us out there have mind enough to know we have a body.
Yeah.
I don't know about the body sometimes minding you.
Yeah. Sometimes the
Do we-
body don't mind.
exactly. When you get older, you're like,
Yes.
oh, come on, body, do this.
And
The
it's like,
body goes,
nah,
nah, nah, that ain't my mind.
not today.
Maybe
Check back
tomorrow.
with me last year.
Exactly. Okay. It's a stance that mind and body are two distinct substances,
Hmm.
each with a different essential nature. Or, in other words, it's mental and the physical, mind and
Hmm.
body,
Yes.
or mind and brain, are in some sense radically different kinds of things.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm. Someone goes, tell me something new. Others might say while you're listening to us, well, I never have thought about the fact that my mind and the body are different. I think they're mostly as one.
Hmm.
I would doubt it because most people are not in sync with the mind and body
Yeah.
anyway, in the first place. And if you are, you're very far
Yeah.
advanced. But most people are not.
But when you think about it, people
Mhm.
do refer to that in some form.
Mm-hmm.
Like when somebody says, I'm tired, or,
Move the mic most to you.
when somebody says, I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired, or um, I don't feel like this, or, something hurts. It's like, oh, just suck it up. Use your mind over matter.
Oh yeah, I
And
forgot
so
about that.
they'll say it in that way, mind over matter, as opposed to, you know, just let your mind take it away from your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's referred to, but not in those terms.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So that's one to kind of keep it home,
Hmm.
or where the goats can get it.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate it. What are some other ones to kind of bring it home to, give people a better understanding? Because I don't think most people think about this whole dualism in connection to especially opposites attract. They really don't. I mean, outside the opposite side, when two individual
Hmm.
beings and people,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily look at that idea of dualism,
Being
not in
within
that matter, but it really has to do
being
with
within
you.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that your mind and
Yeah.
your body are separate.
Yeah.
So, what's some other examples that you can come up with? And maybe you have some examples if you do out there and you listen to us. Make sure you text us. There's no right or wrong.
Put it in the comments.
Again, and the mind and the body, or the
Hmm.
mind and the brain, or in sense radically are different.
Hmm.
Some people, you know, have a fix have a perfect image fixed in the mind that, you know, um, um, my body looks like it's got six packs, and my chest is built for every woman in their life to see and look at and go, ooh, darn, I wish I had that. Or damn, whatever. Or he's fine. And that's what I may
Yes.
have in my body. My ego may push that. But in reality, when you look in the mirror, it's like, no. But my mind, the ego says
Yes.
that. I
Yes.
mean, that's the example. Does
Hmm.
that happen or not? We're talking about body image, but doesn't it happen a
Absolutely.
lot when it comes to
It
with
happens
women too?
constantly. Definitely with women.
Mhm.
There's something, because with a woman, there's so many aspects of her body that is there for viewing and judgment.
Mhm.
And people pass judgment on it one way or the other, no matter what.
Mhm.
And so body image for a woman is always, it's a constant presence, unless she has ascended to a point where it
Mhm.
doesn't matter, or she dresses in a way that those certain points don't aren't
Mhm.
aren't aren't noticed so
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
um there was this, I remember, just to throw something out there.
Mhm.
I When my daughter was a senior, in high school, one of her friends was going to the prom, and so I was going to make her prom dress. Well, we went shopping first. I was not going to make her prom dress. We went shopping to help her find one. And she always wore, jeans and big t-shirts and stuff like that. When she tried on this one particular dress, it was like, okay, well, that was totally not what I was expecting. And so that's what I mean, unless if they wear things that don't accentuate,
Mm-hmm.
the body. But even with that, females are um, conscious of it.
Yeah, that's a cultural conditioning
Hmm.
that's been going on for
Oh,
years.
definitely.
Always covered under the guise of beauty.
Yes.
Um,
What's
yep,
acceptable,
beauty, not just booty.
and sometimes
It's
just
just
booty.
booty. And culturally wise, it's also attached, sadly to say, in this country, under the guise of the conscript called race.
Yeah,
And so, the
definitely.
race, a Caucasian or white race, has been pushed many times with females that they are more beautiful than
Hmm.
anything else, even though
Yes.
they're driving on the booty side, and that on the sister side, most thing that you look for them is a sexual thing.
Yeah.
The booty side.
Hmm.
What was the old stereotype that came from slavery? That they're mostly
Which one?
sexual objects.
Um, I know I can't think of it right
Well,
now,
anyway, you
but
kind of know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I
There's
do
been that push
definitely.
from that.
Yeah,
Sadly, that
and
was that
it
push.
definitely it's a sad thing.
Hmm.
But what's even more sad is that it has been perpetuated generation after generation after
Not
generation.
much of a good balance either. Your
None,
sister
none
that
whatsoever.
is intelligent, wise,
Hmm.
um, um, is not necessarily pushed
Right,
in the balance of beauty.
right.
Um, and
To the extent
mm-hmm,
that a lot of females who were, no matter what they looked like, if
mm-hmm,
they were really interested in education and things
mm-hmm.
of that sort, they were pushed into the category of less attractive.
Yes, and if they wanted
Yeah.
to come out of it and come out of the closet, so many words,
Hmm.
then they have to leave with the booty. I mean, excuse me, they got to leave with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Exactly.
which is sad, but
And
yeah, it was sad.
leave the books behind.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Definitely, don't let
Yeah.
that guy know I read books. Don't let
Yeah.
him know
I can't be smart if I
that.
want a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
that's,
you might be too smart, and then I become dangerous
yeah.
or intimidating from that.
Yeah. And that
Or
was,
I may think I am intimidating
hmm,
and better to you because of my education, what does happen with some, you
hmm,
know, some men, some brothers who are looking for an intelligent woman who also looks good or intelligent if she don't. And that's eyes of the beholder. But you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And you might come out with that other side because of my intellect. I'm too
Hmm.
smarter than you and intimidate a brother from that.
And from that standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
I even saw that a few years ago at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Girls who would sit in class, they would go from honors classes to regular classes
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to be seen in the honors classes because the boys didn't wouldn't like them,
Exactly.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling them, I said, bring them up with you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come down just to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
Find someone who's willing to move up with you, and you can
Mm.
help them to rise to that level.
What it's certainly on the area of relationship because we're
Hmm.
going to relate. Don't make what mom said, dad said, the
Right.
rest of it. Then certainly the thriving and balanced relationship concept that we try to teach based on the principle of friendship, true friendship,
Hmm.
would go into play very well. Then
Yeah.
find a friend, find someone that is connected with you. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about that on how that connection is made through the avenue
Hmm.
of dualism. Um, could the opposite? I mean, outside the fact that's a boy, I'm a woman, the opposite.
Right.
But now we're talking about, I'm more brains, not booty,
Hmm.
and you're thinking about maybe more booty than brains, or will you be looking at someone if they're going to be true friends to you that is more looking at brains also too
Yeah.
than booty?
Or somebody who is looking at both sides of you.
That's if you
Yeah.
dayfully are able to.
Yeah.
But it's also too that person, which we're going to talk about more,
Hmm.
because remember, dualism is about the physical mind and body
Uh-huh.
um,
Yes.
um, um, principle that represents, first of all, you
Right.
as a being
Right.
that has a mind and a body.
Hmm.
So that means a male has a mind That's right. Males have their
I
minds,
know
sister.
males have
All right.
minds.
Okay. I'm just trying to
I
help you
know.
out.
Oh, you don't have to tell me
I'm just
because
saying.
I love a male with a strong
Okay.
mind.
I'm just saying.
Listen to
So
me. I love a
I heard you.
man
I
with
heard
a
you. But you
strong
know me.
mind.
I'm still from Kansas City. Show me state. You got to
Oh,
show
you
me
know, I already showed you. You know that.
truth and
Uh
verify.
huh.
But back to
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that if that's the case, then that's for both individuals.
Right.
So even hopefully he will be all about trying to balance between
Mm-hmm.
brain and not just booty.
You're right.
In his own life. In this case, it
Mm-hmm.
would be not just
Yes.
physical,
Yes.
sports, and that's about it.
Right.
Then my mind goes when according to African American, that time spent so much in
Mm-hmm.
sports, percentage wise, you ain't got a good percentage whatsoever when it
Right.
comes to competition.
Right.
The rest of the lane down there. When it comes to if you really used your mind
Mm-hmm.
in what's a direction that would be a lot favorable for you in the long run, let alone your next generation in the long run.
Right.
I don't
Right.
care if it was you going through the process of being the investor that's necessary for that guy that's in sports,
Mm-hmm.
investing his money.
Yes.
And then you are making some kind of money off of it because the fact you're helping him invest his money that he's wasted in the first place.
Right.
Anyway, it goes. The understanding that you're a dualism being and she's a dualism being is important. How are we going to connect? And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to talk about. How we're going to
Yes.
connect. Somebody left something in the comments. Let's see what it is. Hey, y'all. There's a Bernard White who's saying that like, hey, y'all.
Glad
what's
to
up?
have you here.
Glad to have you here too. At the same time, we're very happy to see you here at 2023. Maybe this is the first time that you've actually have listened to our particular program. If you did, again, I'm Imar. This is
Sorry.
Zarai, and we're good to see you here. We're relationship coaches and life coaches too at the same time. Trying to move you into a more balanced, healthy relationship. So today, again, opposite attraction, dualism, that principle. There's another word that has been used to pretty much, to me, seal this deal when it comes to dualism. Whenever someone kind of says, I don't want to deal, I've said that before. I don't want to deal with dualism because I think it's wrong. Opposite attracts. It's like a friend and a lover.
Mm.
And if there is a friend, you don't marry because we talk about
Right.
that.
So what's
But a
that
lover
word?
you do.
What's that word?
What is that word that's used
What's
a
that
lot to sell
word?
that? You telling me?
I don't know.
Oh, you
tell
want me to tell me?
Yes.
Okay, it's called sharing. You should never did that. It'd be sharing, because sharing would go by this word a lot of times when I bring it up in our time, haven't it not?
Yes.
So what is the word?
Compliment.
Exactly.
Yes.
A compliment.
Yes.
So whenever we usually hear compliment, we usually say, well, compliment is the answer to the idea of opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
They compliment what? One another.
One another. Yeah.
Boy, are we going to find out later on that compliment, the word compliment, doesn't necessarily mean that
Yes.
at all.
Yeah.
It really doesn't mean that.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't
No,
have to be.
Doesn't have to.
So we're going to be looking at the styles of relating
Mm-hmm.
and how do they actually relate. How's that?
Yes.
The style of relating
Yeah.
and how do they relate from the standpoint good, bad,
Mm-hmm.
in between,
Yes.
long, short.
Mm-hmm.
Or is there anything really in common or is it totally opposite?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing is for sure, we're going to learn something, all of us today, as we usually do. And we'll learn more because there's going to be more than one time that we're going to do
Dualism.
dualism. Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. So you look like you looks like something's on your mind. You want to say something right now?
Oh no, I'm just excited about this because
Uh-huh.
it's. I feel like I'm all choked up.
Okay.
No, I feel like I'm learning as well
Mhm.
because this concept is something that I'm kind of anxious to really delve into and
Mhm.
discuss. Um, and I feel like this is a good way to start the year with
It is.
with something that is um, a brand new topic even for us.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. Hopefully it's going to help expand us and expand whoever goes along and takes the adventure
Yeah.
together along with us.
Yes.
From that end. Spiritual concepts are never all totally one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it, since there's no such thing as really perfect anyway. Definitely spiritual concept is all about trying to find a balance.
Yes.
And we're going to find a balance between this idea of dualism
Mm-hmm.
and the other side that has to do with not compliment. I'm going to use that word because that don't even work, and we'll find out later on. But the other side that says, I like.
Yeah.
Okay? Because
Mhm.
we look at dualism as being opposite. We got the like as not being opposite. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Meaning we can't find much in common.
You are correct. I
Whoa.
got a little close and kissed the mic.
You did.
But
Well, one thing is for sure, we're going to find out there's gray areas and all of that.
Yes.
It's not
And
necessarily
that's
all the way one way or the other, and that there was some structure
mhm.
even behind that
Yeah.
that would be surprised of how their um hmm, they complement one another. How's that one? They
That
actually
they
complement one
actually
another.
complement one another.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So we'll first start out dualism. Of course, the description of dualism in a relationship is almost like a romantic kind of thing
Mhm.
between the people of the opposite sex. You hear that
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
Just the opposite sex is one of the
Mhm.
first thing we look at dualism is that description. And it should be noted that dual relationships occur between same-sex partners, because they do, and non-romantic friendships,
Mhm.
and various settings at work and home
Yes.
and so on and so forth, and between people with different what backgrounds.
Backgrounds.
Let's give us a couple of, well, hold on, before, let's go to a commercial
Yeah,
first,
I was just getting ready to
and then we'll
suggest
get
that.
back to everybody when it comes to this dualism part. So we're going to go to
Yes.
two commercials, and after we get back of our commercials, we'll talk to you and we'll continue on. So just hold on. Uh-oh. Well, I'm trying to get, I don't know what's going on. Oh, we are finally back. We got this, I think, together. Hey, just remember we're here on, I don't know what's going on here. I'm clicking on buttons. It's not coming through. We're Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every live right here on what's the
Yes.
network?
On all thing what is it? Our Black Network.
Exactly.
Our Black Media.
Okay.
Wow, has it been that long since I've said it? That
Yes, apparently so.
oh yes. Well, let me bring my mind and body into sync.
Focus, sync. Yeah,
Yes.
that's wow. Isn't that something?
Our Black Media.
Isn't that something? Because
Yes.
even on that note, the idea and the belief that's been around from all cultures, those who are spiritual really believe in that. And one of the first things that comes to my mind that most of us understand that kind of concept would be in the religious world called yin and yang, but that's just energy.
Yeah.
Another one in the religious world that has to do with dualism would be the concept of God and the devil. Okay, of dualism.
Yeah.
Yet, since we are talking on that particular line of thought, because we are, we don't necessarily think, deeply about that when it comes to our own self, that our thoughts and our feelings are not necessarily directly connected to our body. And I remember I was talking to someone about that a long time ago, and we're moving on, and someone would say, well, you've got functions like breathing, functions like your heart pumping,
Hmm.
and you do not consciously
Yeah.
tell it what to do. Your
Yes.
body does that
It on.
automatically,
Yeah.
and you're not really thinking. In fact, well, we'll just put it like that. You're not really thinking,
Hmm.
breathe. You're not thinking,
Exactly.
heart pump.
Yeah.
What's that
Right.
called? Well,
Oh,
anyway.
that's what I was trying to think. It's autonomic, I want to say, but I could be wrong. What is that? When your certain body functions happen without you doing anything about it. I cannot remember. Um, yeah, I don't know, but anyway, it it is it's not a reflex. It is something that is it's like blinking and yawning and um, when your organs do what they're supposed to do and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
to do anything about it. You know, so or think about it. It's kind of like planting a garden. You put the seed in, and you just
Mm-hmm.
wait and see what happens.
Exactly.
It does the rest.
Well, let's go through our own commercial, as we try to do.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Every Saturday morning, you can find us on WRUU at 9 o'clock a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's wrong with my mouth today. It's not working.
Your brain
And
is
yeah,
separate from your mouth.
exactly.
Dualism at its best work. When you don't get much sleep, that's what
I was
happens.
getting ready to say that is a sign of fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so yes, so WRUU every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, you'll be able to find us there, taking the journey together, where we will also be talking about relationship issues. In this case, like right now, we'll still be talking about dualism, but we'll be talking about dualism, the same concepts, but it'll be in a different way. One of the advantages of that is when you look at things in more ways than one, you learn more. For example, in my classroom, there are two teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I teach things one way, and every now and then, when I step out, my co-teacher will take over, and she goes through it in a completely different way. But what we're doing is we're connecting with the modalities of all of the students overall.
Did you talk about this one already, or I got the wrong one up there? Did you talk about WRUU?
That's what I was just talking about.
Oh well, then I had it wrong. I wasn't listening. Okay, let's go to this one.
And of course, on Thursday nights, you can
Mm-hmm.
always find us here on our Black Media, and it's at 6 o'clock on Thursday nights.
Mm-hmm.
You can reach us. Oh, before I say that, you can also find us on Roku.
Yes, I forgot
Yes,
about that.
our Black
All
Media
black media is in
Network
Roku. Yeah.
on Roku, and you go to Community, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And look for Taking the Journey Together. And we are there. You can also get in contact with us by emailing us at ttjt at takingthejourney-together.com.
Shameless plug for our nonprofit organization, Unity in the Community. We've been doing for the last 8 years on River Street, that large arts and craft event with artists. If you've ever been on River Street during that time in Savannah, Georgia, because we know this goes all around the world, that's our event we do as we created the
Third
founders of
weekends.
Unity and Community. Third weekend of the month. You can see below if you've got a vendor, someone who wants to vend on River Street, please get a hold of us, 912-495.
Handcrafted goods,
88 what it?
8838 912-495-8838.
It's right below. You can see it too. You can
You
always go
caught
to
me.
our website, www.unityinthecommunity.org. So let's get back to where were we talking about?
We were talking about dualism,
Exactly.
dualism relationships.
Yeah, where did we stop at?
And one of the things that, no, I'll save that till later.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I was getting ready to talk about something else that had just popped into my head
Mm-hmm.
while we were doing that, but I think it might be better
Mm-hmm.
talked about at another point.
Okay. I do
Okay.
that all the time. Non-romantic relationships could be a description of dualism. Non-romantic relationships.
Yes.
Hey, you think about some people who claim themselves as being friends, real friends.
Mm-hmm.
And many people say, man, them two are opposite from one another, but they
Yeah.
sure are close friends.
Yes. Yes.
How's that happen?
Exactly.
Just something to think about. It's an
Yeah.
observation.
Yeah.
It is.
And people who hang out, they don't like the same things,
Mhm.
or but they will hang out together.
And we would use the word that they complement one another.
Mm-hmm.
May not be real good of a word to use, but like I said, we'll talk about that definition of compliment later on.
Yes.
But I just use that purposely from the standpoint of two friends are opposite from one another, and they certainly are good friends.
Have you ever had a friend like that?
Who, me?
Uh-huh.
Had a friend like what?
That was opposite of you, but you still consider them a friend.
My cousin. He was like that. His name was Marion,
Mm-hmm.
and he reminded me like a Tupac. I think he still looked like Tupac now today. And so we kind of ran together the streets and ran together at school and stuff like that. Played ball together and did a lot of things together. But he was definitely the opposite from me.
Mm-hmm.
From that end, he many times would play like the Eddie on Leave It to
Eddie
Beaver,
Haskell.
yeah, in front of mothers and stuff. Oh, he just was nice as could be, and uh, not grimy, like talked nice to them. I can't even think about the right words.
Yeah.
I can say, and
Very, very proper.
exactly, exactly. Yes,
and,
ma'am. No,
and
ma'am.
respectful.
Yes, sir. And I would look at him like, man, you ain't even that way at all. We're not here. and I would confront him about it. He just rolled like that. That was how he rolled. So that was a way that I could talk about the opposite. Because when I was fronting the same mom and dad, I mean, I didn't cuss at them. I didn't give them a hard time, but I wasn't going to be different than what I was when they went around. That's what they for sure.
Yeah.
From then, but he was like the Eddie Haskell who did that, that kind of person. So I mean, that's a description that you asked from that end. How about you?
I can't think of many people. Most of the people that I called a friend, I had at least one thing in common with them. We had to connect on some level to build that, because I was kind of a shy and standoffish, not because I didn't like people, but just because I needed to be kind of to have my space. And so I usually had people that we had something in common with. Like one of my childhood friends was you know, she was like the wild child, and I was not. And so, but she was at my house almost every day. We played together, but that was about it. We didn't really do the books together and reading together and all that stuff. When I got ready to read, it was like she would go home. But you know I didn't have anybody that I hung around with that I didn't have anything in common with. I was too quiet to have a conversation with them if we didn't have anything in common.
Wow. Well, you definitely different. You also, because what we talked about, didn't understand how to take that same transitional concept into relationship when it became intimate or marriage.
Right.
Because usually it would always go back to they're my friend, but they're not my lover.
Yeah.
And so therefore,
Yes.
I won't treat them the same or look for the same in commonality when it came to marriage. I usually look at the principle that we talked about, or dualism that we're getting involved with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And
if you got any questions, please make sure that there's no right or wrong whatsoever. This is something that you're enjoying. Go ahead. Make sure you hit the like button too. That's on the Facebook, so that people know that you're liking what you're listening to.
Send up stars.
Send up stars, as they say.
Stars on stars.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
But you may have some questions you have yourself in this matter, or some example yourself. Make sure you put them up there so we get a chance to read them back and work with you, or get a chance. People just get a chance to listen from that end, because we're going to have more than one. I have on the second part of dualism in here, but she has to say, which would be very lovely. Yeah, definitely. So we it's between people with different backgrounds. We want to stick on that just a little bit.
Yes.
We won't beat it until it's a dead horse, but we want to stick onto it. You see a lot of times people with different cultural backgrounds. Okay.
Yeah.
How about the culture of race? Some people in other countries say there is no culture of race. In America, it was created that way. No doubt about it.
And you said the right word there, created.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Culture's always been here.
Right.
But as for it being connected to the color of the skin,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're in a particular country where everybody's color of the skin is pretty much the same, has been
Yes.
for a long time, then there's not going to be too much of a separation
Right.
between
Right.
skin color from that end. The cultures will do the separation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Traditions, the way how they talk, worship their gods or whatever,
Right.
and what they wear, and their music, and so on and so forth. From then, but definitely in this country, race created that concept,
Yes.
and the culture kind of came right along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, back to what I was saying.
Mm-hmm. You were talking about different backgrounds.
Yeah, different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So we got different backgrounds. In even in our cultures, we're talking about African American
Oh
cultures,
yeah.
our
Yeah.
black cultures. We have different cultural background. I'm usually the first one, which is the obvious between you and me, and I think I was the first one to bring it to your attention because you really wasn't paying attention to it. Really, you wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've been northernized too much, but that's even though you carry that still other down south thinking. I won't say with you, but the difference between um, north and south
Mm-hmm.
mind thought. And no, I'm not taking Malcolm X's, you know, I'm saying that is anything that's south of Canada
It's South,
is south.
which is so true. You
But
know.
that's referring to how the white folks are treating us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm referring to now how we treat each other.
Yeah.
And between how we treat each other as African American and black folks,
Mm-hmm.
then there is a cultural difference between northern folks, northern black folks, and southern black
Oh yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
The difference between how we look at life, how we treat them, and how we were treated.
Mm-hmm.
From that end. From that end. What's your thought about that? Talking
Yeah.
about dualism in that matter.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that, based on what you were saying about the ideologies and
Mm-hmm.
the way people are raised, um, demographically,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it would be. It is definitely different, but you can have
What's some of
different.
the difference between you get? Yeah, I'm gonna milk it a little bit. So what's some of the differences? I mean, we talked about some of the difference. Come
Yeah.
on, give us one.
Um.
And it helps those who are
Mhm.
watching this instead of going through it so quickly. Those who are
Yeah.
watching this want to pass the information on. Or some folks say,
Hmm.
the old preacher said, put it in the deep freezer. One day you might have to
Hmm.
open up for your own relationship or somebody else's. That's what
Yes.
we're here to try to do
Yes.
on taking the journey to help
Yes.
other else in relationships.
But one of the things that I was about to say was
Mm-hmm.
that even when you speak of demographically different backgrounds, it doesn't have to be the difference between the so-called North and South. It can be within the same city, but growing up with different backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
even within the same city. And that is where a lot of the duality or the differences can come in also. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because you can, the difference between being raised in an upper middle class
Mm-hmm.
household and community and neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
and the lower middle class neighborhood and
Mm-hmm.
community and household.
Mm-hmm.
Those things can be totally different too.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
The belief systems, even in how I are to conduct myself in
Hmm.
my very community,
Yes.
my neighborhood,
Hmm.
and how my kids conduct themselves. I'm moving into an example.
Hmm.
When I was doing the Taking the Journey podcast years
Yes.
and years ago, and we had writers that wrote for me. There
Hmm.
was a writer who was out of New York who used to
Hmm.
write for me, and he
Yes.
talked about he was the first one that brought that dualism concept to me when
Hmm.
it comes to black folks in cultural differences
Yeah.
or territorial difference,
Right.
part of demographics. How he lived in upstate New York, and she lived right in the heart of New York,
Hmm.
someplace in Bronx like that.
Yes.
And when he would see the son and take the son out to a Bronx, New York, I mean, excuse me, upper New York,
Hmm.
he would let him go out in the neighborhood and play and yada 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 and think nothing about it. And so that young man, when he came back into the Bronx of New York, which was part of his girlfriend neighborhood, he would want to do the same thing or naturally feel the freedom that comes from
Exactly.
that, and want to do the same thing there.
Hmm.
And it didn't work out.
Right.
She got very upset and uncomfortable with the fact that that rule, that thought process, that actual action went against that which she's been saying, because of her cultural environment or
Hmm.
because her environment came up with a culturally learned activity or way or rule
Hmm.
that you have to do
Right.
as a young man in the hood, you may want to
Yeah.
say,
One thing
to keep
was
you alive and
what
so on and so
exactly.
forth.
One thing was about self-preservation, and one thing was about enjoying life.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it caused a conflict in their relationship.
Yes.
And he was quite
But that was also
open and
the
transparent
difference
to bring
between
up.
that was also the difference between surviving and thriving.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I would definitely say yes. But that's another example of dualism
Mhm.
that existed there. And I never would have thought about that
Yes.
until he brought that to attention. And I think in one of his articles he wrote for us,
Mhm.
he brought that to attention. And I'm thinking today how many out there are in relationships like that, and you'll wonder why in the area of dualism there's so much opposition between the two because you both have different beliefs, you both have different cultural thought process that have been learned differently because you might be geographically in two different parts of the country and you're not very well understanding and you're thinking the concept and idea because we're married,
Mhm.
then therefore we have to love each other. That have to is the first thing that's wrong, but
Yeah.
that we have to or we should. And but how come I'm having these conflicts? And I was told that when it comes to real love or real connectivity in a
Yes.
marriage, white shining armor and all the good stuff, that we
Mhm.
should have no conflicts in the
Right.
relationship. And yet in the background you've got that cultural difference between the two, and you don't even know it's actually a basis that's lurking in the background of your relationship and causing anguish and upsetness and so on
Mhm.
and so forth in
Mhm.
that relationship. You're not even paying much attention to it.
Right. Right.
Well, now you know. Yeah, now you know.
Yeah.
That could be a lot to do with that.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that you need to explore when you are getting into a deeper relationship. You need to understand those differences in backgrounds, just because it will help you understand the duality of the other person.
And I'm going to move to, if you use the principles that we preach and hopefully we practice more
Hmm.
of friendship, true friendship,
Yeah.
then that's going to come out.
Yeah.
That's going to come. And I'm gonna make a little side note. That friendship thing should be based on our principle of you being hot. That's right,
Yes.
you being hot. Show that button up there.
Hot.
Yep, hot, 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 hot. And tell them what the principle of hot is, because that's important as we're talking about that.
Hot is an acronym for honest, open, and transparent.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
you can be honest, open, and transparent, then you're going to learn about those differences in the background. And that's one of the things that I notice a lot of people don't do,
Mm-hmm.
especially for example, um, my sister's husband, and I got a lot of this when I was in college
Mm-hmm.
too. So there's a real small town that is in Tennessee, and a lot of people haven't heard of it or whatnot. But what I found, and I'm just going to leave her husband alone. I'm going to go back to when I was in college. You would meet people and you say, "Oh, where are you from?" Because that's one of the things you do, on a college campus. Where are you from? And they would say Memphis, and you go, "Oh, okay." And then if you knew anything about Memphis, you might say something to them about Memphis,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be a little hesitation, because what it was, they were maybe two towns or two cities away from Memphis, in a place that was just really small, maybe, 100,000 people or something like that, just, really really small, maybe not even that many, lots of farmland, some kind of rural. But Memphis was the largest city close by, and so they would say that that's where they're from. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go home with them, you're going to bypass Memphis and you're going to go to this place that
Mm-hmm.
is like, okay, where am I?
Mm-hmm.
There's not even a grocery store here.
Oh
Oh
wow,
no, the
food
grocery store
desert,
is in the next town.
food desert.
But it's not.
You
But
know, you don't think about how many small towns today, as it was then, were inherently food deserts,
oh yeah,
and we never even thought
yeah.
about that. And I'm going to go on. Just popped in
Hmm.
my mind. I remember when I was in the military down in Biloxi, Mississippi. I traveled with this young brother who lived in Jacksonville. No, 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 no.
Jackson, Mississippi.
No, no, no.
Okay.
Who lived in some place in Mississippi? I can't remember, but they traveled all the time between Jacksonville, Mississippi, all
Jackson.
the way over to someplace in Florida. down on that freeway that's down, probably Highway 10. So
Yeah.
I think about years ago was in the military,
Hmm.
and how it was common for them to know one another in these little small cities. But
Hmm.
one thing is for sure, I ain't seen no grocery stores.
Yeah.
I really didn't. So
Yeah.
I bet you food deserts were big back then, but maybe they did a lot of own growing the food in their
Yeah.
backyards
There
and
was there
farmlands
was there
around.
was a lot
Maybe.
there was a lot of
Mm,
farming in those
yeah,
areas.
probably was.
And as far as food deserts, there were grocery stores from what I understand, but they weren't like
It was small,
they were
maybe.
like they were not like Kroger. They were
Yeah,
mom and pop
that could have
stores,
been. That could have been.
Um, and it was a whole different type of thing.
And I want to take us too far off the subject.
Hmm.
That's one thing for sure. But I
Yeah.
don't. I think also at the same time they were geographically far from the places where people
Yeah.
lived,
Yeah.
and so therefore adding onto that, it goes under that definition we use today, food desert.
Hmm.
We don't really
Yes.
think of them being in small towns. We think of them being in more of a urban kind of city
Hmm.
situation
Hmm.
where stores and stuff should be more readily there as the word in other communities, suburb
Yeah.
communities. But yet when you're in a smaller town, you would never thought about that concept. I just thought about it when you brought it up because
Yeah.
I remember my own experience as we
Exactly.
traveled one night from one little city to one little city doing these back roads, and we got there and all of a sudden, wow,
Yeah.
it was there. We are going to clubs actually because we were clubbing with this young guy.
Yeah. And but
Hmm.
the point is, if you are from a small town like that,
Hmm.
or something, and I use that as one of those things that
Hmm.
who cares
Hmm.
type of thing. So just go ahead and be hot about it and say, well, do you know where Memphis is? Have you heard of Memphis? Yeah. Well, I live like 3 towns from there, but
Hmm.
we're like 45 minutes away. You know, okay, that's honest. You're
Hmm.
from a little teeny tiny town.
Hmm.
So let's move on.
Yeah, I'm from New York. my
Where?
my my little teeny tiny town was 2 or 3 blocks that I only lived in most of the time. It had everything that I had, but it had every kind of different culture you can think of
Yeah.
from that end. So
That
that,
was that was not a tiny town. That was a world.
yeah, exactly. But I was speaking in such a way that we found a
Exactly.
bridge. The
Yeah.
bridge we're talking about later on. That bridge
Right.
is a thing or a way that we can use commonality
Right. And that's
and,
and that's
and connect.
exactly
And
what that's where I
exactly.
was going.
And
Yes.
that's where we're going to go
Yeah.
from that end because we're still talking about the bread and butter, the bread and butter
Okay, you're having the same issues that I'm having.
called relationship.
Yes.
Called
Yes.
relationship. The very glue
Hmm.
that connects together, whether
Yes.
it's like in this case differential, opposite, or as we think the same.
Yes. Yes.
Both we're talking about
Finding
an
that
area of that glue.
commonality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so um, back to again, and we only got a couple of minutes left. Those who are tuning in lately, we're talking about dualism in relationships.
Hmm.
Opposites attract, as they say, and the principle of physical as a being, that your
Yeah.
body is not your mind, your mind's not your body. That could be
Hmm.
totally different. We gave some examples how your heart beats all the time, and you ain't thinking about telling your heart to beat, stop,
No.
or to go.
No.
So that just gives you a right up front
Yes.
example about how the mind and body's not necessarily connected, say. And then we're talking about the relationship that we have with other people, or like dualism. And we give an example. You must be giving one
No,
just before we
I
go
just
off. What?
I just thought about when you said we don't tell our hearts to beat. Now I got to thinking about the little kids that throw temper tantrums and say,
Hmm.
"I'm going to hold my breath until you give me what you want." And I had this one teacher that said her child did that, and she was like, "Okay, let's sit down here. You hold your breath." And because she knew that the child was going to pass out and start breathing anyway, and nothing else would happen, and so it didn't work. But
Hmm.
that's a thought that popped into my mind. You're going to breathe
So
regardless.
that person learned that, you still can't control the body, though I try.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Gets since you're talking about, I got a couple of minutes left. They look at in this world gurus um, when it comes to body control are those type of people.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking about right now a couple of people who on this in this world that they look at as being gurus, meaning those who have that much connection with the mind
Right.
to the body,
Hmm.
those who can swim in cocoa water. You heard about them who do that.
Yes.
Those who can hold their breath for minutes underneath, and those who can do higher heights that most people are scared of controlling the body. And so there is that concept, and most of the time it's called mind over what body,
Matter.
mind over body, or mind over matter. In fact, I
Hmm.
think there's like a belief system a religious
Yeah.
belief system.
Yeah.
This the Church of Scientology, I think it is.
Mm, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
Mind, body.
But there is a mind
Yes.
body um, 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 motif that's built in a teaching
Hmm.
kind of thing
With
that's out there with
meditation and things
meditation.
like that.
But
Yes.
before that, Scientology was all about mind over body
Hmm.
and has that same kind of precept and understanding behind it.
Yes.
And the other ones we talked about kind of broke away from it. But that's
Hmm.
always been something connected to man and woman anyway, is the
Hmm.
idea that my mind is separate from my body. How do
Yes.
I put them in sync? How do I keep them in sync? How do I
Hmm.
make them more? I mean, they talk about the pharaohs in Africa, by the way, the Egyptians, how they, buried their horses, the cows, and the people with them, some alive, some dead, with
Yeah.
them because they believed that their mind and body was the one and the same,
Hmm.
and that it was going to both wake up and they both will
Yes.
be doing
They were going to go
the
to another place and need
wake
to
up
do what
and
they needed to do.
exactly do the same thing. So at that, we're going to have to call it quits because we got to let other people go and go from there, right?
Yes. And so next week we
Mhm.
are going to continue with dualism and really start getting into the nitty gritty, as they say. I don't know why that word popped into
Yeah.
my head, of what dualism relationships really are.
Well, until then, take care and try to be at least on the same page. How's that? Till next time.
Take care.
Like that. 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 Like that.